My graduation row was empty. No family, no applause. So I looked into the Livestream camera and said, "Thanks for never believing in me." Hours later, even my aunt was crying in my DMs. My name is Sarah Martinez, and yesterday I graduated summa cum laude from medical school. You'd think that would be cause for celebration, right? Well, let me tell you about my family first, and then you'll understand why my graduation row looked like a graveyard. Growing up, I was always the difficult one. My parents, Linda and Robert, had my older brother James first. James was their golden boy, captain of the football team, popular, charming, but barely scraped by with C's and D's. Then there was my younger sister Emma, who was the family princess, pretty, social, but also academically mediocre. And then there was me, stuck in the middle, with my nose always in a book and zero interest in the social hierarchies that seemed to matter so much to everyone else. From the time I was maybe 10 years old, my parents made it clear that my academic achievements were nice but not really important. When I'd bring home straight A's, my mom would say things like, "That's great, honey, but you really need to work on making friends." When I won the science fair 3 years running, my dad would joke, "Well, someone has to be the nerd in the family." But when James scored a single touchdown or Emma got asked to homecoming, suddenly it was time for celebration dinners and Facebook posts. The real breaking point came during my senior year of high school. I had been accepted to a prestigious pre-med program with a full scholarship. Full ride? Everything paid for. But my parents were more excited about James getting accepted to the local community college for general studies and Emma making varsity cheerleader as a sophomore. At dinner the night I got my acceptance letter, I was trying to tell them about the scholarship when my dad interrupted me. "Sarah, that's nice and all, but you need to be realistic. Medical school is incredibly expensive, and frankly, we're not sure you have what it takes. Maybe you should consider something more practical." My mom nodded along, setting down her coffee cup with a sigh. "Your father's right. And besides, you'll probably just end up getting married and having kids anyway. James is going to need our support for college, and Emma will too when her time comes." She worked as a receptionist at a dental office, and my dad managed a small hardware store, steady jobs that had always been enough for them, but they'd never understood ambition beyond comfort. That's when I realized they had never planned to help me pay for college at all. The money they'd been saving in their education fund was exclusively earmarked for James and Emma. I was expected to figure it out on my own. "But Mom, I have a full scholarship. You don't have to pay anything." "Oh, Sarah," my mom sighed, "you always were a dreamer. Pre-med is just so competitive. What if you don't get into medical school? Then what? At least if James gets his associate's degree, he can get a decent job." My Aunt Carol, my mom's sister, was there that night. She actually laughed, and said, "Linda's right, Sarah. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. I've never seen you as the doctor type anyway. You're too, I don't know, awkward with people." That was 8 years ago, and I swear it still stings like it happened yesterday. But here's the thing, their doubt became my fuel. Every time I wanted to quit during those brutal pre-med courses, I remembered my dad saying I didn't have what it takes. Every time organic chemistry made me want to cry, I thought about my mom assuming I'd just get married instead. Every all-nighter during medical school, every failed practice exam that I had to retake, every time I felt like I was drowning, I remembered that dinner. I worked 3 part-time jobs during undergrad to cover living expenses my scholarship didn't handle. I tutored other students, worked in the campus bookstore, and did data entry remotely until 2 a.m. most nights. My GPA never dropped below 3.9. I scored in the 95th percentile on the MCAT. I got into my top-choice medical school with another scholarship that covered 75% of tuition. And through all of this, 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, my family's attitude never changed. They came to my high school graduation, but spent the whole time talking about James's plans for community college. They didn't come to my college graduation because it was the same weekend as Emma's prom, which was apparently more important. When I got into medical school, my mom's response was, "Well, let's see if you actually finish." The worst part was how they talked about me to extended family. I found out through my cousin Mike that my parents would tell people I was still in school with this kind of embarrassed tone, like I was a 26-year-old failure living in their basement instead of someone earning a medical degree. They'd brag about James's job at a local insurance company and Emma's engagement to her high school boyfriend, but I was just still studying. Meanwhile, James had dropped out of community college after a year and was working dead-end jobs. Emma had gotten pregnant at 19, married quickly, and was now divorced with 2 kids at 23. But somehow they were still the success stories, and I was still the family disappointment. The final straw came 6 months ago during Christmas dinner. I had just finished my surgery rotation and was exhausted but happy. I'd gotten excellent evaluations and was being considered for a competitive residency program. I was trying to share this with my family when my Aunt Carol interrupted me. Sarah, I have to ask, when are you going to stop playing school and get a real job? You're 27, you're not getting any younger, and this whole doctor thing. I mean, come on. You've been in school forever. Don't you think it's time to face reality? My dad nodded. Carol's got a point. Sarah, you could get a job as a nurse or something medical adjacent. You don't have to keep chasing this impossible dream. It's not impossible, I said quietly. I'm literally 6 months away from graduating medical school. My mom laughed. Oh, honey, you've been saying you're almost done for years now. We'll believe it when we see it. But what really broke me was what happened next. Emma, who had been quiet up until then, suddenly perked up. Oh my God, speaking of careers, did I tell you guys? Kevin got promoted to assistant manager at the sporting goods store. We might actually be able to afford a house now. And just like that, the entire table exploded in congratulations. My dad was patting Emma's shoulder, my mom was clapping, Aunt Carol was asking about their house hunting plans. This was what excitement looked like in my family. This was what pride looked like. Assistant manager at a sporting goods store warranted more enthusiasm than my surgical rotation evaluations. I sat there watching them celebrate Emma's boyfriend's promotion, not even Emma's achievement, but her boyfriend's promotion, while my news about potentially matching with a top-tier surgery program had been dismissed as unrealistic dreaming. The contrast was so stark it was almost funny. Almost. That's wonderful, Emma, I said when there was a break in the congratulations. I'm happy for you both. Thanks, Sarah, Emma said, then added with what I'm sure she thought was kindness, maybe when you're done with school, you can move back here too. There's a really nice urgent care clinic that's always hiring nurses. The assumption that I'd end up as a nurse wasn't even what bothered me most. It was the automatic assumption that I'd move back to my hometown, that I'd want to be close to them, that their geographic area represented the pinnacle of career success. As if the idea that I might want to work at a major medical center in a different city was incomprehensible. I'm not going to be a nurse, Emma. I'm going to be a surgeon. Uncle Dave, who rarely spoke during family gatherings, chose that moment to offer his wisdom. Sarah, there's nothing wrong with nursing. My buddy Rick's daughter is a nurse and she makes decent money. Sometimes it's better to be realistic about your limitations. My limitations? As if scoring in the 95th percentile on the MCAT was a limitation. As if graduating summa cum laude from my undergraduate program was settling. As if getting into medical school on scholarship was just lucky. What limitations are those, Uncle Dave? I asked. He shifted uncomfortably. Well, being a surgeon is really demanding. Long hours, high stress. And you've always been kind of sensitive. Sensitive. That was their code word for the fact that I'd shown emotion when they dismissed my achievements. That was their explanation for why I'd gotten upset when they forgot my birthday 3 years running but threw elaborate parties for James and Emma. I was sensitive because their treatment of me hurt my feelings. Dave's right, my mom jumped in. Surgery is really competitive, Sarah. Maybe you should consider family medicine or something less stressful. Less stressful. As if any medical specialty was unstressful. As if I hadn't already proven I could handle stress by working multiple jobs while maintaining a near-perfect GPA. As if I hadn't just successfully completed a surgery rotation where I regularly worked 80-hour weeks. I've already been working in surgery for the past 3 months, I said. My attending physicians think I have real potential. Dr. Williams said I have some of the best suturing technique he's seen in a student. That's nice, dear, my mom said in the same tone she'd use if I told her I'd learned to tie my shoes. That's when James decided to contribute to the conversation. Sarah, maybe mom and dad are right. I mean, look at how long you've been in school already. Don't you want to start making money? Start a family? Live in the real world? The real world. As if medical school existed in some fantasy dimension. As if the patients I'd helped treat, the surgeries I'd observed and assisted with, the life and death decisions I was learning to make weren't part of the real world. I'm living in the real world, James. I'm just living in a part of it that requires more than a high school education. The words came out sharper than I intended, and the table went quiet. James's face flushed red. There's nothing wrong with honest work, Sarah. Not everyone needs to be a big shot. I never said there was anything wrong with honest work. But there's nothing wrong with ambitious work either. My Aunt Carol leaned forward then, and I could see she was gearing up for one of her lectures. Carol had always positioned herself as the family wisdom dispenser, despite having never achieved anything particularly noteworthy herself. Sarah, honey, I think what everyone is trying to say is that we're worried about you. You've been so focused on this dream for so long that you haven't built a real life. When was the last time you went on a date? When was the last time you just relaxed and had fun? You're missing out on your 20s. Missing out on my 20s. I was 27 years old, in excellent health, learning skills that would allow me to save lives, and building toward a career that would give me financial independence and intellectual fulfillment. But because I wasn't married with kids like Emma or working a dead-end job like James, I was missing out. I'm not missing out on anything, on Carol. I'm building something. But what if it doesn't work out? She pressed. What if you don't get into a good residency program? What if you can't handle the pressure? You'll be 28 with no real work experience, no husband, no backup plan. That's terrifying. And there it was. The real fear underneath all their discouragement. It wasn't that they thought I couldn't succeed, it was that they were terrified of what my success would mean about their own choices. My Aunt Carol had gotten married at 19 and never worked outside the home. My parents had both settled into comfortable, unambitious jobs right after high school. James had never even tried to challenge himself academically. Emma had gotten pregnant and married young, just like our mom. My success threatened their narrative that their paths were not just acceptable, but optimal. If I could become a surgeon, if I could build a life I wanted through hard work and determination, then what did that say about their decisions to play it safe? I do have a backup plan, I said quietly. It's succeeding. My dad shook his head. That's not a plan, Sarah. That's wishful thinking. No, Dad. Wishful thinking is assuming that things will work out without effort. I've been putting in the effort for 8 years. I've earned my place in that program. But medical school is just the beginning, my mom said. Residency is even harder. And then you'll be working all the time, you'll never see your family, you'll be stressed constantly. Is that really the life you want? What struck me was that she said you'll never see your family like it would be a loss. As if the family that had spent 8 years telling me my dreams were unrealistic was something I desperately miss. Maybe I want a life where my work matters, I said. Maybe I want to do something that actually makes a difference. Uncle Dave snorted. Everyone thinks their job matters, Sarah. That doesn't make you special. Special? There was another loaded word. Growing up, anytime I achieved something academic, there was always an undercurrent of don't think you're special. Don't think you're better than us. Don't get too big for your britches. Stay humble. Stay small. I never said it made me special, Uncle Dave. But it does make me happy. Are you happy? Emma asked, and for a moment, her voice was genuinely curious instead of judgmental. Because you always seem so stressed when we see you. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized she genuinely couldn't understand. Emma had never wanted anything badly enough to work for it the way I'd worked for this. She'd never had a dream that required sacrifice, that required choosing delayed gratification over immediate comfort. I'm happy when I'm in the operating room, I said. I'm happy when I can help someone. I'm happy when I understand something complex that I didn't understand before. I'm stressed when I come here and have to defend my choices to people who've never tried to understand them. The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. I could see my mom and Carol exchanging glances, my dad staring at his plate, James looking anywhere but at me. Finally, my mom spoke. We just want what's best for you, honey. No, you don't, I said, and the words surprised even me with their certainty. You want what's comfortable for you. You want me to make choices that don't challenge your worldview or make you question your own decisions. You want me to fail so you can say you were right all along. Sarah. My mom gasped. That's a terrible thing to say. Is it wrong, though? Another silence. Longer this time. Carol was the one who broke it. You know what, Sarah? Fine. Prove us wrong. Graduate from medical school. Get your fancy residency. But don't come crying to us when you realize that all that education can't buy you happiness or a family or a real life. And that's when I made my decision. I looked around the table at all of them, my parents, my siblings, my Aunt Carol, my Uncle Dave who never said much but nodded along with everything, and I realized something. They weren't going to believe in me when I graduated. They weren't going to suddenly be proud or supportive. They were going to find some new way to diminish it, just like Carol had done right then. So I said, fine. Don't believe it. But don't expect an invitation to my graduation either. My mom rolled her eyes. Oh, Sarah, don't be so dramatic. But I wasn't being dramatic. I was done. From that moment on, I went low contact. I'd respond to direct texts but stopped initiating conversations. I didn't send updates about my residency interviews or my thesis defense. When they asked how school was going, I'd just say fine and change the subject. My mom complained to other family members that I was being difficult and shutting everyone out, but I was really just protecting myself. The months leading up to graduation were both the most stressful and most liberating of my life. Without the constant background noise of my family's doubt, I could finally hear my own thoughts clearly. I threw myself into my final rotations with a focus I'd never experienced before. During my emergency medicine rotation, I successfully intubated a patient in cardiac arrest on my first try. The attending physician, Dr. Chen, looked at me with genuine respect and said, "Nice work, Rodriguez. You've got steady hands and good instincts." Later, when we were debriefing the case, she asked me about my residency plans. "Surgery," I told her. "I'm hoping to match with Metropolitan General." "Good choice," she said. "Dr. Patterson runs an excellent program there. You should be proud of yourself for making it this far." Should be proud of myself. It was such a simple statement, but it hit me like a lightning bolt. I realized that I had been so focused on trying to earn my family's pride that I'd forgotten to be proud of myself. But standing there in my scrubs, having just helped save someone's life, I felt it. Pride. Pure, uncomplicated pride in what I had accomplished. That night, I called my best friend from medical school, Jessica, who had matched with a pediatrics program in Seattle. We'd become close during our second year when we were both struggling with anatomy and decided to form a study group. Unlike my family, Jessica understood the sacrifices medical school required. "Jess," I said when she picked up, "I think I'm actually going to do this." She laughed. "Sarah, you've been doing it for 4 years. You're 3 months away from being Dr. Rodriguez." "I know, but today in the ER, Dr. Chen told me I should be proud of myself, and I realized. I am. I'm actually proud of myself." There was a pause, and then Jessica said gently, "Sarah, has your family been making you feel like you shouldn't be?" I'd never talked to Jessica about my family's situation in detail. I'd mentioned that they weren't supportive, but I'd never explained the full extent of their negativity. That night, I told her everything. The dismissive comments, the constant suggestions that I was being unrealistic, the way they celebrated James's and Emma's mediocre achievements while treating my successes like they were inevitable disappointments waiting to happen. "That's emotional abuse," Jessica said when I finished. "Sarah, that's not normal family behavior. Parents are supposed to support their children's dreams, not tear them down." Hearing someone else name it was both validating and heartbreaking. I'd spent so many years thinking maybe they were right, maybe I was being unrealistic, maybe I was too sensitive. But Jessica's reaction made me realize that no, their behavior was not normal or acceptable. "The worst part," I told her, "is that I'm starting to succeed in spite of them, but I still find myself wishing they could be proud of me." "Of course you do," Jessica said. "They're your family. It's natural to want their approval. But Sarah, you can't keep waiting for people who are determined to misunderstand you to finally get it. You have to build your own cheering section." That conversation changed something fundamental for me. I started paying attention to the people who did support me. Dr. Martinez, my biochemistry professor, who had written me a glowing recommendation letter and told me I had exceptional analytical skills and the dedication to match. Dr. Williams from my surgery rotation, who had specifically mentioned my natural surgical instincts in my evaluation. My study group friends who celebrated each other's victories and provided support during the low moments. I started going to the medical school's networking events and connecting with residents and attendings who shared my interests. I joined the Student Surgical Society and volunteered for medical missions in underserved communities. Slowly, I built a professional family of people who understood and valued what I was trying to achieve. The contrast became even more stark during my final semester. While I was interviewing for competitive residency positions and working on my thesis research, my biological family's communications became increasingly tone-deaf. My mom texted me pictures from Emma's baby shower for her second child, with messages like, "Look how happy Emma is. Don't you want this kind of joy in your life?" As if I was incapable of joy because I wasn't pregnant at 26. James sent me a LinkedIn article about work-life balance with a note saying, "Thought you might find this interesting since you're always so stressed about school." The article was about corporate burnout, as if 8 years of medical training was equivalent to being overworked at an office job. Aunt Carol forwarded me a news article about physician suicide rates with the message, "Just thought you should see this before you commit to such a demanding career." Because nothing says family support like sending articles about how your chosen profession might drive you to suicide. But the most painful message came from my dad about 6 weeks before graduation. He texted, "Sarah, your mom and I have been talking, and we want you to know that we'll love you no matter what happens with this doctor thing. Even if it doesn't work out, you'll always be our daughter." Even if it doesn't work out. 6 weeks before graduation, with my residency match already confirmed, with my thesis defense successfully completed, with my name already printed on the graduation program, my father was still talking about my medical career like it was a lottery ticket that might not pay off. I showed the text to Dr. Patricia Martinez during our final thesis meeting. She read it, looked at me with a mixture of sadness and anger, and said, "Sarah, I hope you know that their inability to see your worth says nothing about your actual worth." "I know," I said, though I wasn't sure I completely believed it yet. "Do you?" she asked. Because I need you to understand something. In 30 years of teaching, I've worked with thousands of medical students. You are in the top 5% of students I've ever taught. Your thesis work is graduate-level quality. The attendings you've worked with have universally praised your clinical skills and professionalism. You're going to be an exceptional physician. She leaned forward in her chair. Your family's inability to recognize your achievements is their failure, not yours. Don't let their small vision limit your understanding of what you've accomplished. That was the day I made peace with my decision to exclude them from graduation. It wasn't about punishing them, though I won't lie and say there wasn't an element of that. It was about protecting the sanctity of my achievement. I had worked too hard and overcome too much to let their negativity overshadow what should be one of the proudest moments of my life. 2 weeks before graduation, I had lunch with my cousin Mike, who was the only family member I'd maintained a close relationship with. Mike was 3 years younger than me and had always been the black sheep of the family for different reasons. He was gay, artistic, and had moved to San Francisco to pursue a career in graphic design. We bonded over being the family disappointments. "So you're really not inviting anyone to graduation?" he asked over sushi. "Nope. Not a single one of them." He was quiet for a moment, then said, "I think you're doing the right thing. I know it probably doesn't feel good, but Sarah, they haven't earned the right to celebrate with you." "That's exactly how I feel," I said, surprised by how well he'd articulated it. "They haven't earned it." "You know what the crazy part is?" Mike continued. "They're going to act like you're the one being unreasonable. They're going to tell everyone that you're being vindictive and shutting them out, but they're never going to acknowledge that they created this situation." He was right, of course. In the weeks leading up to graduation, as word spread through the extended family that I wasn't inviting my parents or siblings, the narrative became about my cruelty rather than their years of dismissiveness. My cousin Lisa, Carol's daughter, called me crying, saying, "Sarah, I don't understand why you're being so mean to everyone. They love you." "Love isn't just a feeling, Lisa," I told her. "It's also actions. And their actions have consistently shown that they don't respect me or believe in me." "But they're family," she said, as if that settled the matter. Being related to someone doesn't give them the right to treat you poorly without consequences. It was a hard conversation, but it helped me clarify my own thinking. I wasn't cutting them out forever, necessarily. But I was setting a boundary that said, if you want to be part of my successes, you need to be part of my journey. You can't spend years tearing me down and then expect to share in the celebration when I succeed despite you. The thing is, I was thriving. Without their constant negativity and doubt, I had space to actually be proud of what I was accomplishing. I matched with my top choice residency program, a competitive surgery residency at a respected hospital. My thesis on minimally invasive cardiac procedures was being considered for publication. I was graduating not just with my MD, but summa cum laude, in the top 5% of my class. 3 weeks before graduation, my mom texted me asking for details about the ceremony. "We'll need to know when and where, and how many tickets we get." I texted back, "I told you at Christmas that you weren't invited." She called me immediately. "Sarah, don't be ridiculous. We're your family. Of course we're coming to your graduation." "No, you're not. Sarah Elizabeth, you are being incredibly selfish and hurtful. This is a family event." "Actually, Mom, it's my event. And you've made it clear for 8 years that you don't believe I'd ever get here. So you don't get to celebrate with me now that I have." She tried guilt, then anger, then bargaining. She got my dad on the phone to tell me I was being childish. James texted me saying I was embarrassing the family. Emma sent me a long message about how family forgives and I was being too sensitive. But the worst was my Aunt Carol. She left me a voicemail that I saved because it was so perfectly awful. "Sarah, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this is just vindictive. Your poor mother is heartbroken. We all know you're upset that no one takes your little medical school things seriously, but you're an adult now. Time to stop throwing tantrums and include your family." My little medical school thing. Even now, 3 weeks before graduation, that's all it was to them. So yesterday was graduation day. I got up early, put on my cap and gown, and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked good. I looked like someone who belonged there, someone who had earned it. I thought about that scared 18-year-old girl who had been told she was being unrealistic, and I felt proud of how far she'd come. The ceremony was beautiful. Our medical school does graduation in this gorgeous historic auditorium, and they livestream it so family members who can't attend can still watch. As we lined up alphabetically, I could see other students' families in the audience, parents crying with pride, grandparents with cameras, siblings cheering. When we got to our seats, I looked up at the section where families were supposed to sit. Every row around me was packed with people. My row was completely empty. Not a single person there for me. For a moment, it hit me harder than I expected. Despite everything, despite knowing this was my choice. Seeing that empty row made my chest tight. But then I remembered why it was empty, and the sadness turned into something else. Something fiercer. When they called my name, Sarah Michelle Martinez, graduating summa cum laude, I walked across that stage with my head high. There was no cheering section for me, no proud family jumping to their feet, but there was scattered applause from my classmates and faculty. My biochemistry professor, Dr. Patricia Martinez, no relation, despite the shared surname, who had become a mentor, gave me the biggest smile and whispered congratulations, Dr. Martinez, when I shook her hand. Dr. Martinez. I was Dr. Martinez now. After the ceremony, I was standing outside taking pictures with some classmates when I remembered the live stream. My school posts the video online within a few hours, and I knew my family would probably watch it later to see what they'd missed. That's when I got my idea. I walked back into the auditorium where they were still packing up the live stream equipment. The student tech crew was there, and I knew a few of them from volunteering at school events. "Hey, Marcus," I said to the student running the main camera. "Is this thing still recording?" "Yeah, we're just getting some closing shots of the auditorium." "Why?" Could I say something into the camera? It'll just take a minute." Marcus looked confused but shrugged. "Sure, I guess. This is all going in the archived footage anyway." So I stood there, in my cap and gown, looking directly into the camera, and I said what I'd been wanting to say for 8 years. "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, Aunt Carol. I know you're probably watching this later since you decided not to come today. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you. Thank you for never believing in me. Thank you for telling me I wasn't smart enough, dedicated enough, or realistic enough to become a doctor. Thank you for making it clear that my achievements didn't matter to you, because it taught me that they had to matter to me. Thank you for doubting me every step of the way, because your doubt taught me to believe in myself." I paused, looking directly into the lens. I graduated today summa cum laude from one of the top medical schools in the country. I'm starting my surgical residency at Metropolitan General Hospital in 3 weeks. I'm going to save lives, and I'm going to be damn good at it. And I did it all without a single bit of support or encouragement from any of you. So really, thank you. You taught me I could do anything as long as I didn't listen to you. I smiled then, not a bitter smile, but a genuinely happy one. Oh, and Aunt Carol? It wasn't a little medical school thing. It was a big medical school thing. A huge one, actually. Goodbye. Marcus was staring at me with his mouth open when I finished. "Damn," he said. "Should I cut that out?" "Nope," I said, pulling off my cap and letting my hair down. "Leave it in." I went home, ordered Chinese takeout, opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving, and watched Netflix. It was honestly one of the most peaceful evenings I'd had in years. I was finally done. Done with school, done with trying to prove myself to people who would never see me, done with carrying their doubt around like a weight. I figured the video would go online and maybe my family would see it eventually. I thought they might call to yell at me, or maybe they just pretend it never happened. What I didn't expect was what actually occurred. Around 10 p.m., my phone started buzzing. Text after text, missed call after missed call. I ignored it at first, but it kept escalating. Finally, I looked. The messages weren't from my immediate family. They were from everyone else. My cousin Mike, "Holy shit, Sarah, I just saw your graduation video. I had no idea they treated you like that. I'm so sorry and so proud of you." My high school friend Jessica, "Sarah, your graduation speech is going viral on TikTok. You're a badass and an inspiration." My uncle Dave, "I'm ashamed of how we treated you. You deserved better. Congratulations, Dr. Rodriguez." Someone had recorded my speech on their phone and posted it on social media. It was spreading fast. But the message that broke me was from my cousin Lisa, Aunt Carol's daughter. "Sarah, I just watched your graduation video and I'm sobbing. I had no idea Mom and your parents were so awful to you about medical school. I always thought you were the coolest person in our family and I never understood why the adults acted like you were failing at life when you were literally becoming a doctor. I'm in college now and my parents are pressuring me to drop my engineering major because it's too hard for girls, and watching you today made me realize I don't have to listen to them. Thank you for showing me what it looks like to believe in yourself." That's when I started crying. Happy tears, proud tears, relieved tears. The messages kept coming all night. High school classmates I hadn't talked to in years. People from college. Fellow medical students who had seen the video. Even some of my professors. But the one that shocked me the most came at 2 a.m. From my Aunt Carol. "Sarah, I just saw your speech. I can't stop crying. I don't know what to say except that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You were right about everything. I was jealous of your intelligence and your drive, and instead of being proud of you, I tried to tear you down. I've been thinking about it all night, and I realize I've done this your whole life. Your mom called me after she saw the video and we both just cried. We failed you. I failed you. I'm so proud of you for becoming the person you are despite us, not because of us. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope someday you might give it anyway. Congratulations, Dr. Rodriguez. You earned every bit of it. I stared at that message for a long time. Carol had never, not once in my life, admitted she was wrong about anything. She'd never apologized to anyone in the family. But there it was. My mom texted an hour later, I saw the video. I saw Carol's message to you. She's right. We failed you. I failed you. I don't know how to fix this, but I want to try. I love you and I'm proud of you, and I should have said that 8 years ago. My dad's message was shorter, you're right. I'm sorry. Congratulations, Doctor. Even James sent something. I know I don't deserve to say this, but I've always been proud of you. I was just too insecure about my own failures to admit it. You're incredible. Emma wrote a long message about how she'd always looked up to me but felt like she couldn't say so because Mom and Dad never seemed proud of me, so she thought maybe there was something wrong with being smart. She said watching my speech made her realize she wanted to go back to school. By morning, my phone had over 200 messages. Friends, family, acquaintances, even strangers who had seen the video online. The overwhelming theme was the same: people telling me they were proud of me, people sharing their own stories of unsupportive families, people saying my speech had inspired them to pursue their own dreams despite the doubters. I found out later that the video had been shared thousands of times across different platforms. Someone had put it on YouTube with the title "Medical Student's Graduation Speech to Unsupportive Family Will Make You Cry," and it had hundreds of thousands of views. The comments were incredible: people sharing their own stories, people talking about family members who had doubted them, people saying they were going to show the video to their kids to teach them about perseverance. But the most surreal part was when local news stations started reaching out. One reporter wanted to do a story about overcoming family doubt to achieve your dreams. A podcast about women in medicine asked if I wanted to be interviewed. The hospital where I'm starting my residency called to tell me they'd seen the video and were even more excited to have me on their team. It's been 48 hours now, and I'm still processing all of this. I went from having no family support to having more support than I knew what to do with. My Aunt Carol, who had been my biggest critic, left me another message yesterday saying she'd bought 5 copies of a book about supporting children's dreams and was giving them to everyone in the family. My mom called and actually apologized properly. Not a fake apology where she made excuses, but a real one where she took responsibility. She said, "I was wrong, Sarah. I was wrong about everything. I let my own insecurities and fears make me dismiss your dreams, and I taught your siblings and Carol to do the same thing. You deserved parents who believed in you, and instead you got parents who made you feel like you had to prove yourself to everyone. I can't take that back, but I want to do better now." The conversation was awkward and emotional, but it felt real in a way our conversations hadn't felt in years. Here's the thing though, and this is important: I don't regret shutting them out of my graduation. I don't regret my speech. And I'm not going to pretend that their apologies erase 8 years of making me feel like I wasn't good enough. But I am glad they finally see me for who I am. I'm glad my cousins who are still in school saw that it's possible to succeed despite family doubt. I'm glad that somehow my moment of frustration turned into something that resonated with so many people. My residency starts in 2 weeks. My mom asked if she could take me out to dinner to celebrate before I start, and I said yes. We're going to have a lot to work through, and I'm not sure our relationship will ever be what it could have been if they'd supported me from the beginning. But maybe it can be something new, something honest. My Aunt Carol asked if she could frame a photo of me in my cap and gown to put on her mantelpiece. I said yes to that too. And you know what? When I start saving lives in the operating room, when I'm Dr. Rodriguez making split-second decisions that matter, I'll remember this feeling. Not the hurt from years of doubt, but the pride from proving them all wrong. The satisfaction of becoming exactly who I was meant to be, with or without their belief. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, the people who doubted you will finally see what they missed. I'm Dr. Sarah Martinez now. And I got here all by myself. Update: I'm overwhelmed by all the responses to this post. Thank you to everyone who shared their own stories, and congratulations. A few people asked what specialty I'm going into. I'm starting a general surgery residency with the goal of specializing in cardiothoracic surgery. Yes, it's going to be brutal, but I've been preparing for brutal my whole life. To those asking if my family and I have fully reconciled, we're taking it slow. Apologies are a good start, but rebuilding trust takes time. I'm hopeful but realistic. And to everyone who said my speech inspired them to pursue their own dreams despite unsupportive people in their lives, that means more to me than you know. Sometimes we have to be our own cheerleaders first, but it's amazing how many people will start cheering once they see us succeeding. Keep pushing forward, everyone. You've got this.